Hello everybody, welcome to the Redmen TV and your latest Liverpool news update. My name is Dan, I'm joined by Luke for this one. It's Monday morning, we're back at it once again. A new week. Luke, first and foremost, mate, thanks for joining me. How are you?
No, I'm alright, I'm good. No train delays today, that's the main thing.
Boss.
Last week was a bit hassle.
Yeah, but you're here, and yeah, bright and early on a Monday morning. The end is in sight of the international break, and the end is in sight when it comes to international breaks, full stop, because this is the last one until March, I think I'm right in saying.
Yeah.
So they've come thick and fast, seemingly every fortnight so far this season, but we're nearly there. We're nearly there. Liverpool play this week, literally. You couldn't say that last week, but you can say it this week, so that's something. Talking of internationals, we're going to start doing a little bit of a run through of what's been going on over the past few days, couple of days, over the weekend and stuff like that. Konate last night, mate, captained France once again. Win over Italy, obviously a pretty decent win. But for Konate, obviously playing exceptionally well when it comes to Liverpool form and all that sort of stuff. Another sort of, I know he's done it a couple of times recently, but another sort of confidence boost, feathering his cap, if you like, captain his country.
Yeah, I think, obviously, I'm not particularly a fan of the Nations League, as people who watch the show know, but him going away and wearing the armband for France is going to do loads and loads for his confidence and also his player development, sort of long term. So it's always going to be good for us for him to go away and do that. And also, I know I'm not too familiar with last night's result, but I know they had a bit of a political game against Israel, a bit of protesting going on, but he himself actually put in a really solid performance in what was a poor result for France, but as an individual performance, really good for him. So I think it's leaps and bounds really from the start of the season, with him not even getting the start at Ipswich, and now where he is now.
Yeah.
You know, it's like night and day.
No, absolutely. He wouldn't have imagined that he doesn't start the first game of the season, whilst being fit, of course, and available. Doesn't start, and then a few months later, mid-November, we're talking about him captain France. Like, you know what I mean? It's a bit mad, really. But again, I always say whenever I talk about Konate, this is who he is as a footballer. Like, what he's doing right now, the levels he's at, the performances he's putting in, shouldn't really surprise anyone, because I believe that was always what he was destined to become. It was more of a case of, why isn't he that yet, as opposed to, wow, this is good.
Yeah, we always knew we had the potential in him to go on to be this massive star player. And it's sort of like, I think sort of like runs in and out the team, injuries, sort of that. He's never really had the long run, but he sort of didn't have the pre-season this time round. And everyone was sort of like, oh, he's back up to Konza now, because Konza had full pre-season. First game, he's blew that out the water, he's come on, won all the aerial duels, and then the run he's had on the side now, it's sort of like he's really developing into this top world-class player. But to be fair, even looking back, the season we went to Paris, and we were in every competition right to the end, he was that player, and then he just sort of tailed off. I know he's sort of coming back after them 2 years of sort of like Liverpool's struggle, we'll call it. Shouldn't really call that, we were winning trophies in that time period. But it's sort of like, I think it's more character development there, and he's pulled these performances back out, what we knew he had, and he's just turned into, hopefully, what's going to be this world-class Van Dijk quality centre-back when he's in his prime. Yeah,
absolutely, and that's what I almost like had him marked down to become and to be, and I think that's why Liverpool signed him.
Exactly,
because he was that. He was sort of on the pathway to becoming that, and his trajectory suggested so as well. But yeah, there's been some bumps in the road, I think it's fair to say, whether it be form, injury and stuff like that as well. But we are now seeing what we all expected Konate to be, I think. And you mentioned Virgil there. Learning from somebody like him must be brilliant for any defender, mustn't it? But certainly Konate, with all the attributes and the assets he possesses naturally, to be honest with you. Okay, we'll move on. Nice to see some people in the chat now. We caught people off guard, I think, being early this morning. People have got like the watches set by 12:30, nice little lunchtime viewing and listening. But I think we caught a few people off. But that's now changed. Everybody's there. Thankfully, Gucci'd up has notifications on. So yeah, doesn't miss a beat when it comes to what we do here at Redmen. And thank you for it. We're going to discuss Curtis Jones now in England beating the Republic of Ireland, of course, last night. Did you watch any of this? A bit of a drubbing in the end, to be honest with you. All kind of hinged on a sending off and a penalty decision. The game thereafter just ran away from Ireland. But on Curtis Jones, mate, I mean, obviously a brilliant goal last week. He impressed again last night. Another one in a similar vein to sort of Ibu, who's in a very good moment, really.
Yeah, he's in a terrific moment, isn't he? I didn't catch too much of the game last night. Caught a few glimpses of it on Twitter after, and sort of like picking the ball up deep, carrying the ball, stuff like that. He looks terrific. There's one, I think, just into the early moments of the second half, where he picks it up. I think he's getting pressed by, I'm not sure, he's partnering Ferguson up top. And he sort of like, it's like
Smodics,
it's like Smodics. It's like Iniesta-esque. When you see them videos of Iniesta where he turns out, drives and plays the ball forward, and you think, wow, the quality in him there. I actually caught a lot of the Greece game, what you probably already spoke about this week. but he was tremendous against Greece. He was absolutely unbelievable, you know what I mean? And even like Keane that we're talking about, he don't really give us a lot of credit. Usually our players anyway. He's playing in that deeper role, but then he weren't scared to get forward and get in on the action and also track back. And he was just an absolute, one, a workhorse and an engine, and two, just absolutely quality on the ball. You know what I mean? He's just exuberating confidence at the moment, and that's the player we want him to be.
Yeah, no, absolutely it is. Yeah, but he's definitely at it right now. And I think, obviously, recently becoming a father and his form and what he's doing now for his national team, it's just great. Yeah, he's in a really good place and looks as though I think he came off late on the game last night, which was nice to see because obviously not too many minutes in the legs. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so yeah, real positive again. Listen, I'm not going to dwell on the fact that Keller conceded 5. For what it's worth, I don't think he could have done a lot about any of the goals, really.
I mean, we had 10 men by that point. Really.
Yeah, exactly. They were under the cosh probably. Actually kept it down a little bit, the score towards the end. He made 2 decent saves, one from Harry Kane with his feet and then another one a few moments later. So, yeah, I think Kelleher doesn't really have any sort of black marks against his name from that particular drubbing. But on him, just more generally, obviously had a really good night against Finland last week, saved a penalty, that sort of stuff. Me and Steve had a decent little debate really about the goalkeeper department at Liverpool. And Shay Given, obviously former Public Affairs International, has been speaking about Kelleher. And he basically says that he played 26 games last season. In that time, he showed he has the talent to be a number one. He needs to get away from Liverpool if he wants that to happen, is sort of the telling line from all of this. Now, I think we're aware of that. Kevin Kelleher has literally said as much himself. Yeah. What's your stance on Liverpool's goalkeeper situation? Because there's a lot of debate and a lot of questioning because he's been brilliant, and I've even had people say to me in social life that would Alisson get back into the team? I mean, yes, he will because Alisson better. But that's how good Kelleher's been. The fact that can even be said out loud suggests that Kelleher's been exceptional. But I'm more thinking next summer because Kelleher needs to be a number one somewhere. That's done. That's a fact. Could that be at Liverpool? Because obviously Mamardashvili's coming in, Alisson Becker remains a constant when he's available. What's your take on all of this, really?
Yeah, so essentially my take on it, we're looking at the 2 different viewpoints of my take and the club's viewpoint. My take would be Alisson, he's injured half the season, isn't he? When he's in goal for us, he is the best goalkeeper in the world. But he's injured for half the year. And how long can you keep this lad who's excelling, putting in these unbelievable performances, waiting in the wings? You know what I mean? He's been waiting to get the keys to the car for how long now? You know what I mean? So I think it's really difficult. I think if I was the club, I don't know why he went out and bought Mamardashvili this summer. I know we got him on quite a good deal and he had an unbelievable Euros. But we had Kelleher there and he's a ready-made replacement. And I'm one of them. I don't like change. And I'm thinking, we've got this lad, he's already performed with us. I would have made him the number one if we're looking at moving Alisson on. But Mamardashvili's not coming here to be the number 2. So to the viewpoint of the club, I think it does look like Kelleher's probably going to leave. Unless Alisson leaves. But is Kelleher then going to stay to be the number 2? I highly doubt it.
No, I doubt that.
Yeah. That is what we don't want we don't want this Karius Mignolet situation that we had years ago, where no one knows who's the number one is, because all that does is just bleed mistakes into them because they've got no confidence behind them. They don't have the backing of the manager. They're constantly battling. I think that's exactly what we don't want. You want a number 1 and you want a number 2.
Yeah, I get that, and I guess the caveat, I'll play devil's advocate a little bit on the whole thing. Actually, you mentioned sort of the fee there for Mamardashvili, which was relatively bargainy for the type of player
for the Euros he had. I thought it was a good price,
and the ceiling he seems to have, and it's the ceiling point that I'm going to run with momentarily, if you'll forgive me. And this sounds like I'm talking negatively about Kevin Kelleher. I'm absolutely not. The fella's been phenomenal more or less every single time he stepped into the breach of Alisson Becker. However, Liverpool believe that Mamardashvili could become Alisson Becker levels, sort of very best in the world, world's elite. And I'm not sure they think Kelleher got quite the same ceiling. I think they think Kelleher could be a very good number 1 at the top level. But we all speak about, and people outside Liverpool circles speak about Alisson Becker being the absolute pinnacle of what it is to be a goalie. I think Liverpool think Mamardashvili can do that as well, hence buying him. And I think they're looking at Kelleher going, you're brilliant, and we know we can trust you because you've done it time and time again. However, I think Mamardashvili is viewed upon as being that extra level up, if that's fair. Yeah. And that's the only reason it makes any sense, because otherwise what you're saying there, you'd double down on keeping Kelleher, new contract, and you'd allow Alisson Becker to potentially move on and make Kelleher your number 1. They're not willing to do that.
No.
I do actually believe, though, to push back on something you said a moment ago, I actually do believe Mamdashvili would come in and be number 2 for a year behind Alisson Becker. Yeah, just because there's that transition element of all of this. He's come to Liverpool Football Club, which is, with all due respect to Valencia, a big old step up. He's playing in a different league, different environment, etc., etc. And also, he would look at that, or he should look at that as learning from the best in the business. And how much could he develop and improve his own skills by just being behind Alisson Becker for a little bit. So I think there is a world where you do get Mamdashvili's number 2 and Alisson's number 1. Yeah. Mamdashvili would probably get the Kelleher games, if you like, the Carabao Cup, and maybe even the early stages of Europe, and that potentially, you know what I mean, that sort of stuff. So that's my general consensus on it. But there is no right or wrong answer really to this either, because if we hadn't signed Mamdashvili and there was a bit of a groundswell of making Kelleher number 1, I'd be perfectly fine with that as well, because I think he's brilliant. But I do just think the only way I can make sense is either Kelleher has said to them, listen, this is the last season I'm giving you, I've got to go next summer, and there's no alternative to that, or the club believe that Mamdashvili could become extra special.
Yeah, I think they do, don't they? And from the stuff we've seen in the Euros and all the clips you see on Twitter as well, like, he does look like he's going to be an unbelievable keeper, doesn't he? Back to the thing you said about the transitioning period, that's definitely something he's going to need, sort of, because I imagine Valencia aren't exactly playing off from the back to be tapping it around.
That's his biggest issue, to be honest with you.
Yeah, the way that we're sort of, our goalkeeper department's developing, where we've got Kelleher who's unbelievable on the ball, and Alisson who's unbelievable on the ball, and even Jaros who's alright on it. You know what I mean? Yes, so that's probably what he's going to need to develop and sort of to play our sort of style of playing system. I think what you said, he will sit back up to Alisson Becker, but I just don't think he'd come in and sit back up to Kelleher, which would mean Kelleher probably goes in the summer, you know what I mean? Yeah. So it's a lot to think about with FIFA Force, isn't it? But we're a long way off yet anyway.
And also we can debate this until we're blue in the face, but we're blessed to be having these conversations. You know what I mean?
It's not often, is it, you have a conversation about like how good are all our goalkeepers, who's going to play.
Not you know what I mean? That's crazy. You mentioned 2 a minute ago, who I'm not going to sit and disrespect them, but come on, like compared to the 4 we could, like, even you mentioned Jaros there, like he looks brilliant, and he's out of contract at the end of the summer. And listen, whether Liverpool have even broached that subject yet because of what's going on in different departments when it comes to contracts is another question, but you'd want to keep him around, I guess, as well.
Yeah, definitely.
We'll move on. Ben Doak, somebody mentioned him in the chat before, and anybody mentioned Ben Doak gets immediately put on the screen when it comes to me, because I'm his biggest fan. His performance against Croatia, you may well have seen some clips.
Yeah,
he was sensational.
Yeah, I wrote a little bit about it as well. I'm sorry, the final goal is his goal, you know. It's a tap in that for John McGinn. He's always scoring that. That's John McGinn's goals all day. But he made Josko Gvardiol look silly a couple of times, you know what I mean? And he's regarded as one of the best defenders in the league. So that's all you need to say about Doak. I've seen some mad stats on Twitter about his chance creation being really high as well, isn't it? Like in terms of like the actual global.
I think he's in like the top 3 in Europe. I think like him and Vinny Jr. and somebody else. I want to say,
you know what I mean? And he's obviously got shoved out on loan at Middlesbrough, isn't it? Yeah. So
well, on that loan at Middlesbrough point, it's right. But he has started to look more and more at home. I think just regular football has helped him along that sort of path. What do you make of his future prospects at Liverpool, really? Because one thing he has, and when there was talk about him leaving the club in the summer, it was actually on a permanent basis, and I wasn't in love with that whatsoever, because he possesses something. You can talk about lots of Liverpool youngsters as much as you like, but Ben Doak has something that nobody else has. He has that raw pace. Like, that's rapid, the X factor. That's something you just can't teach. You can do all the work you want on technical, first touch, final ball, blah, 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 blah. He is rapid. So I believe you keep someone like that around, especially when they're 18 years of age. Not so much in Liverpool squad this season, because he might not have played. He might have had a look in every now and then. I think the Middlesbrough loan is working and it's getting him regular footy. It's getting eyes on him as well, because he's getting spoken about. But do you think in terms of next year there's chance that he stays and has an impact? I
think it depends how many players got as well, doesn't it, really? I think he might maybe looking at the next 2 years, but I think he's in a great position because he's picking up loads of first team football, and if he does want to play for Liverpool, you know what I mean? God bless, after all these years, sometimes you see it, don't you, where they go and they play a full season and they don't want to come back and sit on the bench. They'd rather go and play for a lower league, Premier League side. If he does want to stay, you know what I mean, when he comes back from this loan, I think maybe he could even explore the possibility of loaning him out to another lower league, Premier League side. If that's something he wants to do, he wants to stay with Liverpool. But I think he's in a great position, and sort of like, we've got a few aging players up top. I know we've got very few young players as well. You've also got the Mo Salah contract situation coming up. Ben Doak's not a replacement for Mo Salah, but he's going to get minutes in the side. God forbid he leaves, you know what I mean? Let's hope not. But like I said, we sort of got Diaz question marks around him. Does he really want to be here? He's playing unbelievable at the minute. So I think he wants to be here. Yep. There's always a few sceptics in the media, isn't there? And sort of like that. So I would say when he comes back, I could see him going out maybe again next year. But hopefully not on a permanent basis, because I loved watching him against Croatia the other night. So
he's the sort of player that gets you off your seat, isn't he? You know what I mean? He's that type. I mean, he's a bit of a throwback when it comes to being a winger. And I know Arne Slot, we haven't seen it much this year, a little bit, but I think sort of typically Slot likes those sort of wingers. Your more traditional, get to the byline, pull it back, cross it.
He's really agile as well, isn't he? He's such a little man, and he's just
it's that low centre of gravity thing. Yeah. And you mentioned Gvardiol, you know, he is sort of upper echelons when it comes to defenders around the world. Couldn't live with him.
He couldn't.
And he'll commit people time and time again. The one thing you know you're going to get from Ben, regardless of the situation, regardless of who's come up against, that fearless nature, he's got to get the ball and he's going to run at you. Yeah. And then it might not come off, but then guess what? Next time he gets the ball, he's going to run at you. You know what I mean? Like, he just has no care in the world. He's just going to commit you time and time again. And he makes people look silly. Like, he made Gvardiol look a bit silly. Luca Dean, all the way back like 2 years ago when he's playing for Villa, made him look silly. You know what I mean? So I think there's a player there. I really do. And hopefully there's definitely things he needs to work on, but it looks as though they're coming along nicely at Middlesbrough, which is good. Final international related story then. It's emerged this morning. I haven't actually had much time to sort of delve into the whys and wheres, but Virgil van Dijk is seemingly returning back to Liverpool after international break quickly. Now, basically.
A few days early.
Yeah, a few days early, because I'm not sure why, to be honest with you, like I say, but that's good news. I've put on our tweet there, hopefully dotting some I's and crossing some T's when it comes to the old contract. But yeah, getting him back, no injury issues, no problems whatsoever. Just, I did this last time as well, just fancies a few days off, I think, and get back into Liverpool mode.
Quicker, yeah, pretty much. Well, he got sent off last time, didn't he? And he come back quick.
Yeah.
So it's all right. I mean, he's the captain, isn't he? Maybe he's leading by example. Hopefully, you said a bit of contract stuff.
They've already qualified as well, haven't they? I think they beat Hungary. They beat, wasn't it, 4-0 the other night? So I think they've already sort of sealed promotion as it is from the Nations League.
I think maybe I'm so confused by this Nations League as well. I thought it was goal difference. It's not. It's head to head. I'm pretty sure it's head to head. Yeah. I mean, so they're top of their group there for him.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So why not have a couple of days off first, get back on Merseyside, my mate, and we'll go from there. Sound. Let's delve into some transfer stuff then. In that case, Milos Kerkez is a name that I won't say emerged because it's been doing around for some time now, but over the weekend gathered some pace. It feels like you probably would have seen all over social media. That Liverpool are seemingly in talks with Kerkez now. The Hungarian outlet M4, I think it was, suggesting that Hungarian player, of course, suggesting that we are very much advanced in our interest for him. Let's do it. We spent a good old time talking about left backs a couple of weeks ago. I think.
We did.
Let's do it again. Listen, good player, 21 years of age, 2 assists so far this season in the Premier League. Very exciting. The interesting part of all this for me is, and we'll talk about the left-back scenario in more detail in a minute, but what makes Kerkez so interesting is the age profile's good and he ticks a lot of boxes and all that sort of stuff. Richard Hughes already signed him once. That's what sort of props my attention and go, okay, Hughes knows him. The due diligence is already done. He clearly likes him. That's what makes you think there might be some legs to this.
Yeah, well, I think, to be honest, the conversation we had about the left-back department the other day, we were saying we were going to buy, but we weren't confident where we were going to buy from. I think Kerkez has shown early doors in the Premier League this season he's going to be a top player, and also his development under Areola, he's a top manager. You know, I actually watched him at Rayo Vallecano. I went when he was back there. And,
he got big results against big teams, I think.
The way he turned them round and sort of made it a fortress was unbelievable. But the actual player development there was like he had players playing out the skin, you know what I mean, you'd never heard of. So I think him there, he's going to have some great development, and you know, if he's someone we could pick up come January at the end of the season, I think he'd be a massive addition to the squad. So,
well, on that then, let's pull on that particular thread. Yes, but why? Because we own 2 senior left backs. Devil's advocate once again. I've said it numerous times now on record that I think we do need to look at the left back department and future-proof that a little bit. And I think Kerkez is very much in amongst the answer, if not the answer. But if it's January, I could definitely say why. Because Tsimikas is playing well, and Robertson has already come out and said, write me off at your pedal, lads, you know what I mean, watch what I can do sort of thing. There's Joe Gomez in this conversation as well, so do we need to do anything in January, really, for this?
If he was coming in January, he's not going to be he's not going to be the first team player, is he? You know what I mean? He'd probably be the backup, maybe even the third choice, and maybe be learning the system, maybe looking at something coming into the following season. The only argument probably to bring him in as January is the position we're in at the moment. Yes, and we're looking like we could be going on with an extra body for the squad. On Tsimikas and Robertson, I think a few weeks ago we were going through the period of referencing back to what I said before about when we had the Mignolet Carrier situation where nobody knows who's number one. I think we were going through a period of that, and then it looked like Robbo had sort of maybe been told that Tsimikas is the number one, and then Robbo got the start against Villa the week, and he was unbelievable. You know what I mean? He played out of skin.
Well, that coincided with that interview he did. I think it was with the club website. Forgive me on that, I might be wrong, but he'd obviously been aware of sort of the speculation and the murmurings that maybe his time as Liverpool's first choice left back was coming towards an end. And he came out and said, not in as many words, but like, I'm not done. Don't worry about me. And I think his performance reflected that as well.
Yeah, definitely. He was unbelievable. So I think it's difficult, isn't it? But it's once again what we said before, it's a great situation to be in. You know what I mean? Because we've got the two of them are battling it out, but they're actually playing. They've gone through a period where we were a bit up and down, we weren't sure, but the last couple of games they've both been great. And do we want to add another name to that fire? That's the hard part.
It is, yeah. And listen, I always throw in different names into the mix when it comes to this sort of conversation. I'll do the same again now. There are left backs Liverpool own, most of them coming out on loan. Owen Beck has had a really good season at Blackburn. Luke Chambers come back from injury before his season ended, obviously at Wigan, which is a shame. Callum Scanlon likewise came back from Millwall loan injured, so there's question marks around them too. Owen Beck might say, well, what about me? Don't forget about me a little bit when it comes to sort of what happens next. But on the general point about Liverpool looking to sort of strengthen the squad, I make you right on that. Whether a left back is it in January, I'm not sure, but I think looking to sort of get better squad-wise from a position of strength is the way to do it. Because the last thing you want to do is Andy Robertson does fall off a cliff at some point, and Tsimikas isn't the answer, and then you're scrambling around going, God, we need a left back. You know what I mean? Exactly. And that's any position, by the way, not just left back necessarily. Hungarian in the chat there, actually, as well. Boglarka Pataki, apologies for absolutely butchering that name. Good morning from Hungary. Do let us know what you make of the Kerkez links in that case, and whether you think he could be the man, because you probably will see more of him. Just
a quick pullback to that as well. I know he's Hungary, Hungarian, Serbia, Montenegro sort of league, but he's very much like a Dutch footballer, isn't he? Which
having come through,
through AZ, you know what I mean? So
he'll be aware of him anyway. Most likely, you would have
think
thought.
So
he's such a sort of student at the game as well, aren't he? He knows everyone, it seems like, doesn't it? So I'm sure he'll be on to what Kerkez can bring to the table. But I think let's round off on him then. If Liverpool can do that bit of business and we do make it happen next summer, let's just say for argument's sake, what happens with the other two, Robertson, Tsimikas?
It's difficult, isn't it? I wasn't sure. I think it depends how Robbo sort of finishes the season. You know, if he goes on to play like he did against Villa every week, then you got to keep Andy Robertson, haven't you? And sort of maybe I'd chat with Tsimikas about where his head's at, whether he wants to stay and sort of fight for this number 2 spot or number 1 spot. Or it's so difficult because we still don't know where we stand on it. We still don't know who's the number 1 and who's the number 2 because it seems like Tsimikas was playing all the important games until he was knackered, and then Robbo's come in to play the Villa game, still very important. But then he's played out of skin, so we're sort of still in limbo. To be honest, I couldn't call it. I think it's so difficult. We just need to see where we are come the end of the season.
Okay, I will nail my colours to that mast. I will say, if we were to go and sign Kerkez or Aït-Nouri, Anthony Robinson, whoever in the left back role, I think Tsimikas leaves. Yeah, and I think we keep Andy Robertson around for the experience he brings, the leadership qualities he brings. That's not to say Tsimikas doesn't offer those things, but Andy Robertson's got it in absolute bucket loads, doesn't he? You know what I mean? So that's where I'd be at. And I think he'd play football for us still as well, by the way. I don't think he'd just become this like dressing room fella who's sound, just to have around a little bit. But I think
Scott Carson.
Yeah, exactly. Just for him forevermore. But I think Tsimikas at that point would. Not mainly, but somewhat because the amount of football they've played is so different as well. Like Tsimikas has played, in and around 20 games a season, most seasons you would imagine. A lot of them won't have been starts as well, maybe 10, 15 starts. So he's got a lot less football under his belt. So he could and should go somewhere and just be a number one left back for a bit.
Gain that experience.
Having to fight it out again with like a Kerkez, I don't know about that. For
wouldn't be great for his head, would it?
No.
Really
having bided his time, 4 years worth now, I think we signed him to go at Olympiacos, and he just waited and waited and waited. And then when it looks like he's about to finally get the gig, we go and sign someone, you know what I mean?
So won't fill him with confidence, would it?
No, that's where I'd be at anyway, but we'll wait and see. Last couple of stories now. This one has somewhat emerged, let's just say. I'll frame this properly. Don't want to throw anybody under the bus. Football League World, who are quite a reputable written outlets online, have suggested that Cardiff City should sign Liverpool youngster Jayden Danns, obviously referring to January, obviously referring to a low move. And I wanted to bring it to the attention of you and viewers and listeners and stuff like that, because I think Jayden Danns is quite close to returning to action. I think we're in the next few weeks, potentially we might see him training, maybe see him for the unders and all that sort of stuff. So I don't think we're a million miles away from seeing him play football again, which is good. If he gets an amount of football between now and January, there will be a decision to be made around Jayden Danns, whether he stays and is part of the squad for the rest of the year, obviously mainly 21s, senior every now and then, or do you loan him? In the summer, you may remember, there was links to Plymouth, Wayne Rooney as manager, of course. What do you think Liverpool should be looking to do with Jayden Danns? Because let's just say he is fit and he's available. He might play 15 games of under-21 footy from January to the end of the season, for argument's sake. Or 2 or 3 first-team appearances as well, potentially. Or you could go and play in the Football League somewhere and play 20 games worth of footy at a higher level, senior football, which he looked ready for, let's be honest. So what would be your take on what happens with Jayden Danns?
I think we should probably loan him out. I think it's similar. I think Ben Doak's a bit more of a progressed football player than Jayden Danns, only because he's just played a little bit more football. You know what I mean? Jayden Danns is still quality. I think maybe be looking at a similar scenario: Championship club, high level League One club, and hopefully get a lot of minutes. Cardiff are Championship level, aren't they?
Yes,
you know,
they are,
sort of mid-table. Is that right? Yeah. So
I'm not sure about mid-table. I can check that for you now.
So that would be I think it'd be an ideal move for him. Obviously, there's no concrete. It's more of a journalistic piece. It's not to say they're interested, but I think in terms of Jayden Danns' developments, it'd be great. But like you said, want to see how many minutes he gets now. You don't want to sort of loan him out somewhere half-heartedly. I think Stefan Bacecic has come out and said midweek, hasn't he, that even he's struggling with a few niggles, but Liverpool are very much heavily involved in the rehab. But he's sort of home away from home. Luckily, we've got Linders there under that. Would we have the same level of control sort of over that? I know we've had stuff with like Peter Luger in the past where we've loaned him out and then he's come back to train.
Macclesfield.
He was
at Macclesfield playing his football and training with us.
Yeah, obviously Macclesfield a lot lower than the Championship, so they don't have them sort of facilities. But in terms of like that sort of going on, that's something you wouldn't want to be in that scenario if he's still carrying sort of a knock.
No.
So I think it's one of them, let's judge how he is until January and then sort of make the penny call. I think, judging by Jayden Danns, he's a young lad, isn't he? He'll probably be all right. I reckon that would excel his development massively. Regular minutes, definitely. Because I tell you what, back end when he scored 2 in the FA Cup.
Southampton.
Yeah. He looked ready. He looked really good. Yeah, so you know what I mean? What's to say he can't go there? Southampton were Championship club at the time and absolutely tear apart the Championship, then come back. And we've got another option, which is going to be even better for us, but also another problem because where's he going to play? So,
well, I think I've had multiple conversations about centre forwards because we were linked to a couple last week, and obviously Jota's out injured again right now. There's still question marks about sort of the consistency that Darwin Núñez can reach and whether we can do it week in, week out for you. So I think there is scope to get somebody like Danns involved in the squad, but I'm with you. I'd be looking to just basically up his amount of footy. Liverpool clearly felt that was the best option in the summer. And having missed this much footy up until this point, I can't see that really changing. They'll be so careful with him, though, because he nearly came back once a few weeks ago and then had another setback. So they'll be so careful with whatever happens next with Jayden. I'm absolutely certain of it. To the point, and you referenced it there, really, they've been really smart, mostly with the loans recently. They've had some good success in the loan market as well, to be honest. Liverpool, Conor Bradley, Joel Quanta are both examples of that. And this year as well, looks like there might be a few more, potentially including Ben Doak, of course. But they have been on it when it comes to that. They've been choosing the right club, often sending multiple players to the same club because they know the relationship works and it exists and there's a trust built there as well. And also they've actually pulled lads away from loan moves early if it wasn't working. So there's Liverpool don't just allow a lad to leave on loan and go, best of luck, mate, we'll see you in a year. You know what I mean? They're right on it. And maybe not to that extent, maybe we're flippant, but some clubs are a little bit like that. Liverpool, not at all. Like the loans manager and the actual sort of the hierarchy around it are right on top of it. And yeah, I will be loaning Danns out. Whether Cardiff's the right fit or not is a different question altogether. They're currently 22nd in the Championship.
Towards the bottom end,
yeah, I did wonder that when you said
I thought they were about 14.
No, it did cross my mind that they were a bit more of a struggle than that, to be honest with you. Yeah. QPR, but I mean Luton.
It's close, so only one win from.
Wish Jayden Danns can get him, can't he?
Yeah.
But yeah, again, if provided everything goes well between now and January, and he can play some footy for the 21s, and there can be proof there that he's ready to go and play again, I would be looking to loan him out personally. And that's not to say, if he stuck around, I wouldn't be happy as well, because I would. Sound, last story then, before we wrap up here, is about Federico Chiesa. A report from Italy from Tuttosport.com, Luke, has suggested another report from Italy. Let's get it right.
Yeah.
And I know Arne Slot himself has spoken about this in recent weeks. And this is another report claiming, it actually describes him as a flop in Liverpool, which I think is a bit of a stretch, personally. Yeah. But anyway, there's still a conversation there because currently undergoing what's been described as a mini pre-season, barely kicked the ball in anger since you've had the football club. There's been speculation and reports that he's not settled, he's not happy, load of nonsense in my opinion, whatever. Do you think there is any slim possibility that Liverpool do assess the Chiesa situation in January? And even if it's a case of allow him to return to Italy to play 6 months worth of football just to get him up to speed and then he comes back next season, do you think this is even a starter?
No, I don't think that's what we bought him for. I think if he goes and plays 6 months in Italy, the league standard, it's a much lower pace. It's still a good standard of football, but it's much lower pace. It's not an Liverpool play. I think it's a load of nonsense. He looks made up at all the pictures you see, doesn't he? Looks like he's having a great time.
Yeah, this is Inter Milan, by the way, the link, by the way. For
yeah. So, I wouldn't let him go, to be honest. I think the cameo we've seen from him when he made his debut at Anfield, he looks like he's got potential there to be absolutely great. You know what I mean? He was electric when he come on. He was chasing every ball. Obviously, he's got injured, hasn't he? Everyone's seen he's injury prone, and I'm sitting here going, it's a load of nonsense. Like, he's not that injury prone. He had the ACL, and now he's been injured since. You know what I mean? So
there's a lot of that though. Sorry to interrupt. There was a lot of that in the summer because the immediate red flag, and I did like a reaction video on top of Belleville shopping bar, was that like the injuries are a thing. You know what I mean? That's what my first port of call, because I know how brilliant Chiesa can be on his day. Scintillating player, joy to watch, one of the best players in the Euros 3 years ago now, was it? Boss. And at the time, tout is like €100 million footballer. So to get him for like 12 mil was an absolute steal. But there is that, you go to the injury record first. You're like, oh, I don't know about that. You know what I mean? And as you alluded to there, like, the problem is when he's injured straight away, everyone comes out and goes, told you so, you know what I mean? But there's a lot of people saying it's not that bad. Like, do you still stand by it's not that bad thing? Or so, where are you at with that?
I don't think the actual injury record itself on paper is not that bad. It's not. You know what I mean? He's had the big injury, but then he come back from the massive injury, the ACL, and he played a lot of football. You know what I mean? And then he had niggles here and there in between, but none of them were major interruptions. The problem is I don't actually know what's up with him apart from the settling in. Like, what is actually up with him? No one.
Well, that's the thing. And
no one knows.
I must admit, alarm bell started to ring with me ever so slightly the last time Slot really addressed the K situation, because he said something like he trains and then he's injured, then he comes back and trains and then he's injured. Yeah. And I'm paraphrasing a little bit, but it was pretty much that. And I was a bit like, that's not great.
Doesn't sound like a great relationship.
You know what I mean? And you obviously said it there in terms of the intensity and the requirements of playing in the Serie A are a lot different. The demands on the body aren't anywhere near as taxing. It's not quite as physical. And I do wonder whether this getting him up to speed thing is where we're at now, and hopefully he can have this sort of mini pre-season he's currently having, like I say, and then he can get some football. But then the problem is with that is that we're coming into the busiest part of the year now.
This is what I mean. He's having this mini pre-season, get us some football, but we need him by mid-December, definitely. The amount of games we're going to end up playing, especially, we're going to be playing Southampton away, and then we're going to have all Premier League games all over Christmas. Then coming in January, if we get through against Southampton, we've got 2 Carabao Cup games to contend with and a Champions League game.
FA Cup third round started.
Yeah, we're gonna need him fit, aren't we? That's the thing. Yeah. And if he's not fit by then maybe we can look at loading him out in January. So it's difficult, isn't it? It's so difficult. Yeah. I think if we knew what was wrong with him, that would be something else. But it sounds like Slot doesn't even know what's wrong with him, you know what I mean?
I think that you can't really sort of wholeheartedly say it's that, because he's just having problems getting up to speed with it, you know what I mean? He's having little issues here and there, and fingers crossed, because again, fantastic player. And the sort of player, similar to Thiago thing a little bit, he's so good that you just want to see him play football.
He was
football
good.
club,
When he come on, I was like, wow, this guy's great. And
he's done it, and he's done it at the very highest level.
He not to score one.
Yeah, he was.
So
you just want to see him. That's all it boils down to. And when you can't, it annoys you. That's all it is.
Yeah.
Just finally, a couple of bits. I've got 2 things to ask you. These are coming from the chat, so bear with me. A minute ago, somebody said that Jayden Danns might not be an Arne Slot type player. Discuss.
No, he is though, isn't he? He's been brought up under that Klopp system. The system's pretty much the same. You know what I mean? Was more compact defensively. We press when we need to press. We probably see our results arguably a little bit better, but that's not so bad on Jurgen Klopp. However, I can see why they're saying it. But I can see why they're saying it in the fact of he hasn't played many minutes. They're probably thinking, this is a young lad. Like, he's not going to fit that sort of system. It's going to have to grow, sort of thing. It's sort of like preemptive lazy, is what I would call it. He's going to have all the qualities there. The quality skill book from Klopp to Slot, it's near enough identical, maybe apart from defensive discipline. That's it. He's going to fit the system almost perfectly, I'd say. While if we're going to develop players to not fit the system, the whole appointment of Arne Slot was the style of play. You know what I mean? That was probably what edged him over the likes of Ruben Amorim. Yeah. So I would say it's a load of nonsense.
not having it if you didn't get that. No, I tend to agree, and I think what always sort of refer back to when it comes to Slot is the Santiago Jimenez striker he had, obviously, at Feyenoord, and he wasn't too dissimilar in terms of quite a physical centre-forward, number 9 type, and I think Dan's has got a lot of that going on as well. So, and just finally, Paige has asked in the chat, and I'll answer this as well, but I'll let you go first. What's your ideal January window for us?
I think it's though, I actually don't know, because my whole summer was calling on a number 6, and I would argue we don't need a number 6. Okay. You know what I mean? I think maybe I wouldn't even say argue. I think if one of the centre halves if Konate gets injured, then even Joe Gomez put in a storm the week when he come on.
So you're more than welcome. You're entitled to answer. You're happy and nothing.
I'm happy, but a forward's always nice, isn't it? You know what I mean? Just another forward's always nice, isn't it? They don't get you excited, aren't they, when you see them? Yeah. Okay. But I would say I am happy, to be honest.
Okay, I'll answer. Don't worry. I would loan Jayden Danns out. Actually, come back to what we talked about.
I thought you meant we bring it in.
No, we did both. We
just
did
ideal
both.
window.
Yeah.
Loan Jayden Danns out, definitely. In terms of departures, no one needs to go. Just keep hold of everybody. In terms of loaning other players out, I'd say everyone's all right. Say bringing Alfie Elliott back on the side, he's going to be like a new signing. Yeah. You know what I mean? With Endo.
See Adam Lallana all the years ago. I would loan out Tyler Morton.
Tyler Morton. Oh yeah, Tyler Morton. Yeah.
I would loan out Tyler Morton.
He played very well at Hull, didn't he?
I'd sign one.
Yeah.
Who you sign a 6.
Would you?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, I'd sign a 6. Yeah. I say a 6.
Would you sign an established 6 or a young upcoming 6? That's another good argument, isn't it?
That's a good question. I like that. Young up and coming.
Young up and coming.
Yeah, I would. Yeah, I mean it's Gravenberg's shirt until it isn't. Like it's his shirt forever in my eyes, to be honest. But I just think we need somebody a bit more plug and play for what we're doing. I think Wataru Endo has been good when he's come on, but it's so different. You know what I mean?
He's just a brief, isn't he? He's here to break the play up.
He's not a like-for-like replacement, is he? And I'd keep him.
Run all day.
Notice I didn't say get rid of him in January, but I would keep him in the squad because I think he offers something that not a lot of our players do, and it is that, again, experience. He's Japan's captain. He can come on and shut games down when you need him. I think he's done that quite effectively, actually. But I do think I'd like to see us go and sign somebody who can give Ryan Gravenberg a proper rest and allows us to continue to play the same way.
We're playing the same sort of system.
Yeah. That's where I'm at. And listen, I think Tyler Morton could actually be that guy. But my main concern around Tyler is that he's played like 3 games of footy this season, from first team perspective anyway, you know what I mean? He's got some under 21 minutes along the way as well. But you're going to get to January and he might have had like 10 games tops across all age group categories. I think he needs, and this is off the back of 2 seasons playing like nearly 50 games. You know what I mean?
Hull are very good last season as well. He had Fabio as well.
Yeah, he had the time at Blackburn previously as well. Played loads of footy there. So I just think he was linked to Bayer Leverkusen, of course, in summer. I think he might need to go. and get some football under his belt on loan or permanently, whatever. I really like him, but that's my take on it. And I'd like to see us go and sign somebody who can take the workload off Ryan just a little bit. But anyway,
I can see that.
Somebody asked about Stefan Pacetic. I don't think we're going to do anything with him in January. Personally, I think he stays.
He sounds like having a bit of a hard time, to be honest.
I think he'll stay in Austria at Salzburg and play more football because that's what he needs. Matt Bannister says Martin Zubimendi just finally would go back there. No. He
said no once, hasn't he? Leaving me.
Leave him.
I'm on Martin Zubimendi hate watch for the whole season. So
let him rot with his paella and mountains. Yeah.
Them mountains must be nice, I tell you.
Must be alright, mustn't it? Must be alright. Boss, nice one, Luke. Much appreciated. Nice one to you guys for getting involved as ever at home. I will see you again very soon. Take it easy.